Amplats strikers in South Africa to rally on Monday.
The message of the church is peace. That Kenyans need to be peaceful. Kenyans need to have hope.
Kenyans pray for peace as questions emerge over how the government handled the Nairobi mall attack. And Ethiopia opposition stage anti-government demonstration. Welcome to Africa Live on CCTV News with me, Beatrice Marshall in Nairobi. Also ahead in the coming 30 minutes. Getting children back to the classroom. Massive campaign to get 1 million Somali children into school is launched. And meet the new world record holder. Kenya's Wilson Kipsang breaks the marathon record in Berlin. Well, 1 week after Kenya's Westgate Mall attack, one more suspect is said to have been arrested at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport while trying to fly out of the country. The Kenyan government insists 5 suspected terrorists were killed, but the newly arrested suspect has made the total number of terrorists uncertain. Now, the attack last Saturday at the Westgate Mall in Nairobi resulted in 67 deaths, including 6 security officials. The U.S. government has issued a travel advisory to its citizens against traveling to Kenya, a move strongly criticized by the Kenyan authorities. The Interior Cabinet Secretary Joseph Olelenku is now calling on the United States to lift the ban, saying terrorism is a global war that has happened not only in Kenya.
We are concerned by the advisory, which is uncalled for, unnecessary, and unfriendly. The advisory was issued despite the fact that we had asked the United States government, as a friendly country, not to issue such an advisory. We believe issuing travel advisory is counterproductive in the fight against global terrorism. The travel advisory at this stage is not helping our collective effort against global terrorism. We cannot and shall not allow terrorists to instill fear in our people. And so we request the United States, as a friendly country to Kenya, to lift the travel advisory.
While Kenyans still reeling from the shock of last week's attack continued a 24-hour vigil on Sunday morning to pray for peace and unity as their government faces questions on whether it had received advance intelligence warnings of the deadly attack. CCTV's Wazir Hamsin has a story.
Kenya continues to stand strong in the face of terror as a 24-hour vigil for the victims of the Westgate attack continued early into Sunday morning. Kenyans across the country flocked churches to pray, despite the fears that public places are still unsafe. Worshippers were such as they attended church services in Nairobi on Sunday, over a week after an attack on Westgate Mall in Nairobi that left at least 67 people dead.
The message of the church is peace. That Kenyans need to be peaceful. Kenyans need to have hope. Kenyans should not accept the terrorists to divide them or separate them. We are one nation.
Now here we are, immediately after the Westgate attack, they went out to Mandera and Wajir, terrorized people, killed people, Kenya has not appreciated it. And so what we're asking is this: can the government, because it is supposed to be the one to manage this, move to make sure that Kenyans are protected?
Kenyan civilians and the military paid their respects to the victims of the attack at a makeshift memorial besides the mall.
It has been a very tough week in my life, especially because I'm not a medic or, I'm not trained in any, but, I don't know where the strength came from. I think it is extremely fantastic that God gave all of us here strength to do this. And it's a very, very sad state for Kenya, because the Westgate Mall was really a community center where a lot of people used to meet.
There's still no clear word on the fate of dozens who have been reported are still missing. 5 militants were also killed, but questions remain about the fate of the remaining attackers and fears persist that some had managed to escape. Wazir Khamsin, CCTV.
To South Africa now, where striking South African workers at mines operated by Anglo-American Platinum kept the company guessing about whether they will call off the stoppage at a rally Monday. Miners with the Hardline Association of Mine Workers and Construction Union downed tools on Friday to protest plans by Amplat, the world's largest producer of the precious metal, to cut 3,300 jobs to restore profits. The strike is centered around Amplat's mines near the town of Rustenburg in the Restive Platinum Belt, where AMCU has poached tens of thousands of members from the once unrivaled National Union of Mine Workers in a bloody turf war that has killed dozens of people in the past 18 months. AMCU activists have said they will continue with the strike until their demands are met. Let's get more analysis on this. We're joined by CCTV's Angelo Coppola, who's joining me live from Johannesburg. Angelo, reports there that the striking workers have kept the company guessing about whether they will call off the stoppage at a rally tomorrow. Why is this issue, though, generating a lot of concern, and what should be expected?
Well, there's no confusion in terms of the union. When we spoke to them late this afternoon, and we spoke to a senior spokesperson there, they're definitely meeting tomorrow. The strike's definitely carrying on, and it's all around those retrenchments, as you said. So there's no guessing here. They're confirming to us independently that they will be going on strike until those demands are met, and they don't want those workers retrenched. We know that there was a meeting that happened on Friday, Thursday night and Friday. We know that there were some concessions that were made, but the union is still continuing with those strikes. They're continuing tomorrow. They're meeting at 9 o'clock. And it sounds like until their demands are properly met, they're going to continue with that strike. So there's no guessing game here. It's confirmed from the union spokesperson that we spoke to. Beatrice?
Angelo, South Africa, though, has continued to experience a number of labour strikes in recent times. What measures, though, are the authorities putting in place to stem this tide?
Well, Beatrice, the background here is that it's strike season in South Africa at the moment, and every couple of years the different sectors get together and they negotiate between unions and employers, and government have been very clear. In fact, 2 weeks ago at the NEDLAC meeting, the minister in the presidency's office, Colin Shabane, said very clearly that they don't want to be pulled into any industrial relations discussions that are happening between unions and employers. They said that there are institutions and forums where these discussions can take place, and that they don't want to undermine those institutions, NEDLAC being one of them. So the government is staying well away from these industrial relations disputes and the strikes that are going on at the moment. Whether they'll continue to do so remains to be seen, though.
Right.
Back to you there, Beatrice.
All right, Angelo Coppola joining us there from Johannesburg. Thank you. The death toll in an attack by gunmen on a college in northeastern Nigeria Sunday has risen to 40 in a region where Islamist militants have targeted schools and universities. Yobe State Police Commissioner said gunmen stormed the College of Agriculture in Yobe State and shot students as they slept in the early hours of Sunday. A Reuters witness counted 40 bodies at the main hospital in Yobe State capital Damaturu, mostly young men believed to be college students. Ethiopia's opposition party, known as the Unity for Democracy and Justice, has held a demonstration in the capital, Addis Ababa. The demonstration, which witnessed thousands of people, is named Millions of Voices for Freedom. They want the government to free political prisoners and scrap the anti-terrorism law. CCTV's Girum Chala has more from there.
Thousands of protesters on the streets of Addis Ababa are demanding political reforms, equality and the release of prisoners, including journalists. This demonstration was called by the Unity Party, led by the former president of the country, Negaso Gidada.
That is our aim, to oppose the anti-terrorist law, which is at present. And so that we are holding public meetings, and we are also collecting signatures to appeal to the government. And we planned this movement in June, and we wanted it to last up to the beginning of September.
Many of the key leaders in this demonstration were once members of the ruling party, and the government says they're changing jerseys to access power. According to the government's Communication Affairs Office Minister, Redwan Hussain, the opposition party is trying to glorify the convicted terrorists who, under the country's law, were found guilty and are behind bars. He also said these party leaders are demanding freedom while they are exercising one. The demonstrators seem to think otherwise.
When the whole world attests the struggle by the religious activists as a struggle for religious freedom, and when journalists are labeled EPRDF as terrorists, we don't echo that and say that they are terrorists. I feel we need to strengthen our struggle.
There is pressure that the regime is putting on us, especially concerning human and democratic rights. I came here to support the motive because they came here to ask for the rights on our behalf.
Ethiopia has been showing one of Africa's biggest economic booms, and the development as well as the political stability of the nation is giving the citizens a chance to prosper. But opposition leaders say that is not good enough.
We need freedom, justice. So the others all are secondary. In a person who has not freedom, justice, we don't think there is any type of development.
Critics say opposition parties in Ethiopia are disorganized and deny the change in the nation.
Many of the demonstrators here on the streets of Addis Ababa are demanding human rights to be respected by the ruling party, and their plan is to come back in 2 years' time and try to defeat EPRDF, which has millions of supporters in the country. Grumjala, CCTV, Addis Ababa, Ethiopia.
You're watching Africa Live on CCTV News. Coming up, getting children back to the classroom. Massive campaign to get 1 million Somali children into school is launched. Well, let's now head to the Horn of Africa, where children between the ages of 10 and 14 in Somalia now form the bulk of enrollment in schools following the launch of the Free Go to School initiative sponsored by UNICEF. The program seeks to rehabilitate hundreds of schools destroyed in the civil war and training of 1,500 elementary school teachers. CCTV's Mohammed Hirmoge spoke to a 13-year-old pupil in Somalia on her hopes and aspirations.
Poor children and those living in the displaced camps attend school. They now have the opportunity to access free elementary education. Among them is 13-year-old Qamar Mohammed. She says she is happy to be at school. She is in the same class with 30 other pupils, not in uniforms, but eager to learn.
Now that I have opportunity, I will be a diligent pupil. I will follow my teacher's instructions because I want to be a teacher in future and help other poor children.
Qamar is a beneficiary of the Go to School initiative campaign, an initiative to enroll 1 million children in schools, supported by the UN Children's Agency UNICEF at a cost of 117 million US dollars.
Schools in Somalia have been badly affected by the years of conflict. School-going children stayed at home for security reasons, and others have been displaced from their homes. Girls are particularly badly affected. Only 1 in 3 girls attend schools in south and central regions.
The Go to School campaign is a response towards giving free basic education to all Somali children. Somalia has the world's lowest enrollment rates.
60% of the children in this country actually do not go to school. The 1 million figure that's been quoted today is the age group that should be at school, not at school, between 13 to 16 years of age.
Courtesy of the campaign, 12-year-old Mohammed Abdi now gets to a free government school for the first time. Only 4 out of 10 children currently attend schools in Somalia. Mohammed Irmumi, CCTV, Mogadishu.
A suicide car bomb attack struck the town of Timbuktu in northern Mali on Saturday, killing 2 civilians and wounding 7 people. The attack is the second to target security forces in the north. It comes right after Tuareg separatists pulled out of a ceasefire agreement with the new Malian government on Thursday. And witnesses say the suicide bombers detonated their vehicle near the Malian army camp in Timbuktu, killing 2 occupants of the vehicle and 2 passers-by. In a separate attack on Friday in Kidal, a grenade was thrown at a bank, wounding 2 security officials. Northern Mali fell to a mix of rebel groups, including Tuareg separatists and Al-Qaeda-linked Islamists following a coup in 2012. Mali's new president, Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta, has promised to make security a top priority.
The vehicle exploded at the camp. As you can see the damage. For the moment, nobody from the army has died, but 2 passers-by were hit by the explosion and they have been pronounced dead. I will try to contact their parents before their burial.
To the north of Africa now, where the Egyptian committee responsible for writing the new constitution held a conference specifically to listen to the minorities' grievances. It is part of their campaign to include all Egyptian sects in writing the final draft before a referendum. Adel Mahroui tells us more.
Creating a secular constitution turned out to be a tough challenge, even for a committee that only includes around 10% Islamists. Beside Islam, the Egyptian constitution only recognizes Christianity and Judaism. Some within the committee are not satisfied.
We want to change the article that says Christians and Jews can revert to their religious laws in personal affairs. We want that to become for non-Muslims. We should not categorize or specify certain religions. The freedom of belief should be inclusive to all.
Al-Azhar insisted on keeping this article as is. Christianity and Judaism are the only religions acknowledged in Islam. Among the unrecognized is Baha'ism. It is an offshoot of Islam, yet considered a different religion. During Mubarak's period, Baha'is celebrated a court order to leave the religion section in their national ID empty. Before that, they had to choose one of the 3 recognized religions by the state. They say that the 50 members committee has been ignoring them so far.
The state does not recognize the Baha'i marriage, and there are many problems, and will build on that. The new government should include us all, but no one from the 50-member committee arranged a session to listen to our demands so far.
Women and Christians alike have been demanding a fair representation in the parliament. Throughout Egyptian history, they have always failed to win seats representing their ratio in society. They hope the new constitution would change that.
We suggested several solutions to have a quota for women and Christians, to either specify certain constituencies for them so we can have 2/3 for Muslims and 1/3 for women and Christians.
Another suggestion is to specify a 10% quota for Christians in the parliament.
After our experience on June 30th, we don't want a theocratic state or a religious political party, whether Noor or Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt. This is final.
A voice is starting to rise inside the 50 members committee to change Egypt from an Islamic state into a civil state. No one dared to discuss that before. Many Islamists warned that changes in any of these articles will be considered a war against Islam. Adel Mahroui, CCTV, Cairo.
We'll now take a short break, but coming up after that break. Meet the new world record holder. Kenya's Wilson Kipsang breaks the marathon record in Berlin.
In the first round of beatings, Wangari got very severely injured. It's like they had targeted her. So she got hit on the head, she got hit on her back, everywhere.
You'd look at her at home and wonder, is this the same person? Because she's so gentle and calm, like a dove at home. And then she gets out there, and the passion for whatever issue it is of the day that she's concerned about, you know, she really fights hard.
Wangari had the best smile, and she maintained it to the last minute.
Kenyan Wilson Kipsang made the most of the flat and fast Berlin streets to smash the marathon world record by 15 seconds en route to taking the title on Sunday. Robert Soy tells us more.
The 31-year-old Kipsang clocked a time of 2 hours, 3 minutes and 23 seconds to better the previous mark set by compatriot Patrick Macau in the same race 2 years ago. Kipsang, who won the 2012 London Marathon and also took bronze at the Olympics, produced a storming finish to leave compatriot Eliud Kipchoge a distant second, almost a minute behind. Macau's mark had looked safe as the leading bunch dropped more than 20 seconds off the pace after 30 kilometers, but they clawed back the deficit over the next 5 kilometers. With the group whittled down to 3 runners, Kipsang made his decisive move at the 37-kilometer mark and held off former 5,000 meters world champion Kipchoge before pulling well clear in the final 2 kilometers on the fastest of the big city courses. Kipchoge's time of 2 hours, 4 minutes and 5 seconds was a personal best, with Geoffrey Kipsang third in 2 hours, 6 minutes and 26 seconds. An apparent publicity seeker wearing a female runner's number confused the finish by running out of the crowd and crossing the line just before Wilson Kipsang. He was pursued by security guards while Kipsang celebrated his win. The women's race was won by Florence Kiplagat of Kenya in a time of 2 hours, 21 minutes and 13 seconds, with another Kenyan, Sharon Cherop, coming in second. Robert Soy, CCTV.
Now, of the 10 qualifying teams for the upcoming Brazil World Cup, Ethiopia has the least reputation, but the national team has come a long way. And after sailing through to the Africa Cup of Nations finals after 31 years, this team is now one step closer to making history. The Ethiopian national team will play Nigeria in mid-October for the qualifier, and coach Sewinet Bishau says it will be a tough tie for Nigeria as well. CCTV's Girum Chala has the story.
The intensive training for the clash against the football giants Nigeria has already begun. The Ethiopian national team players are vowing to make double history, one by crushing Nigeria and two by qualifying for the World Cup for the first time.
The team spirit is good. The whole squad is doing good training. We are very much motivated and doing well in everything.
We have played Nigeria previously. I cannot guess the result, but my expectation is that we won't lose. I am sure we will win since the first leg is at home.
These group of young footballers have already registered important track records. Just at the beginning of this year, they have qualified for the Africa Cup of Nations after 31 years and became one of the playing teams for the upcoming South Africa CHAN playoffs.
This match, the Nigerian match, is very crucial for us. We have to win. Our feeling and our emotion is to play nice, very nice football and to win and beat anyone and to qualify for World Cup.
The Ethiopian national team had to be punished by FIFA and lose 3 points for unlawfully playing a banned player on its game against Botswana. That was a huge blow for Coach Sewinet's squad. However, the Walia Antelopes managed to defeat the Central African Republic 2-1 in a game played at Congo-Brazzaville.
I feel Ethiopia will win, And I believe this will happen if Ethiopia plays attacking football and beat Nigeria with more than 3 goals, as the first leg is at home.
Ethiopia will play Nigeria in a home match on October 13 at the Addis Ababa Stadium.
When one looks at their tournament history, recently, for instance, Nigeria and Ethiopia have clashed twice. The games ended with the dominance of the Super Eagles, but no one tells what the outcome of the upcoming 180 minutes hold for both teams. Grumdala, CCTV, Addis Ababa, Ethiopia.
Well, South Africa lost one of mountain biking's brightest prospects earlier this year when double Olympian Barry Stander was killed while training on the roads. His death prompted calls for an improvement to the country's dreadful road fatality record and a need to have greater awareness of cyclists. Our reporter Dan Williams caught up with a group who hope to achieve just that.
An early morning cycle through picturesque Cape Town. Only this is not a leisurely ride. A group of cyclists set off from Johannesburg 3 weeks ago. Some 1,800 kilometres later, they're in Cape Town. The point of the whole thing? To raise awareness for cyclists stay alive at 1.5 metres. A project that urges motorists to pass cyclists with a safe berth.
The whole initiative is basically aimed at trying to save lives on the roads in South Africa. Far too many cyclists have been killed on the roads and maimed, of course, and that's a great concern for us. Internationally, the 1.5 metre rule or legislation is there to protect the cyclist, and all we want is South Africa to come in line with the rest of the world of 1.5 and the cyclist stays alive.
Among those who made the arduous journey to Cape Town was Cherise Stander, a professional cyclist and the wife of former Olympic cyclist Barry Stander, who was killed when he collided with a taxi while on a training ride. For Cherise, who was with Barry at the time of the tragedy, the return to cycling has been understandably demanding.
It's very emotional, and like I said, I'm still struggling to get back on my bike. It's an ongoing battle that I'm fighting every day, but I do have a love for this sport. I want to get it back. I want to get the feeling of freedom back, and that is why I am here and why I am supporting this foundation and why I will keep on fighting this foundation.
South Africa is ranked as one of the world's worst for road fatalities, with more than 12,000 people killed in road accidents last year alone. Amongst that figure are hundreds of cyclists. Cherise and the rest of the campaign group desperately hope that they can galvanise the public into having greater awareness on the road.
There's people in places that I never knew existed that knew about the accident and that asked how they can help and what they can do from their part to help. And I just think, you know, Barry left such an amazing legacy behind, and it's up to us to keep it alive and to keep fighting for the sport that he loved and the sport that we loved.
It's obviously hard to say whether this initiative will bring a lasting change and make the roads in South Africa safer, but the death of Barry Stander has really hit a nerve, and if there is a positive to come out of that tragedy, this could be it. Dan Williams, CCTV, Cape Town.
And that is it for this edition of Africa Live. Remember, you can stay in touch with Africa Live on Twitter using the handle @CCTV News Africa. You can also visit our Facebook page, CCTV Africa. Thank you for watching. I'm Beatrice Marshall in Nairobi. Up next, Faces of Africa. Bye-bye.